Welcome into the live Sunday Locked On Fantasy Football Show. I am your host, Michelle Majuk, and I'm joined by the amazing Michael Fabiano. Today, we're going through all the inactives for Week 11. We'll let you know which replacements you can trust or not, and then answer all of your start-sit questions that you're struggling with to set your lineup here at the last moments before 12 o'clock kickoff Central Time. Now, Fabs, we have a lot of injury, like always, but I think the biggest one right now that we have to keep an eye on is this Jaguars wide receiver group because Brian Thomas Jr. not expected to play. Travis Hunter's out for the year now officially. So guys like Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers have to step up. Who do you trust most going into this week against the Chargers?
Yeah, it's Parker Washington for me just because of his numbers over the last couple of weeks. And Trevor Lawrence certainly has a rapport with him. Leads the team in targets over the last couple of games. I don't know the matchup, to be quite honest with you, against the Chargers. But Washington is a guy that I have in several of my starting lineups. And, between Brian Thomas Jr., you mentioned Travis Hunter, Marvin Harrison Jr. Has an appendicitis. He's not going to be active today. We already know Chris Godwin's not going to play. So once again, it could be a bit of a tough week at the wide receiver position. So there's going to be some players, replacement players, that you're going to be looking at. And I think Parker Washington's probably at the top of that list with Trey Tucker being a close second. He plays tomorrow night against the Cowboys.
I also think Michael Wilson with Marvin Harrison Jr. out, with Zay Jones out, great play against the 49ers. Since Fred Warner's been out and Nick Bosa, this defense for the 49ers is incredibly bad. They're giving up the second most receiving yards since week 5 to wide receivers. So I really, really like Michael Wilson this week.
Yeah, definitely, an under the radar type of streamer play. I would actually even suggest that Greg Dortch is in that mix as well. He'll be playing the slot. Remember, Zay Jones is on injured reserve. So, I mean, the Cardinals are not down one wide receiver. They're down 2. So Dortch is also a player that if Wilson is out in terms of being available, a lot of people probably have picked him up in competitive leagues. Greg Dortch is not a bad option if you're, at your wit's end and looking for someone just to plug in this week.
We got a question saying, is Devontae Adams playing today? We're not going to know for a bit here because I believe they're the later game, right? But he is expected to play. So that's the latest reports against the Seahawks. So I would expect him to be out there. Some other wide receivers that will be out. Darius Slayton will be out for the Giants. This could help Wan'Dale Robinson get more touches. But let's talk about that because Jaxson Dart is out with a concussion. Jameis Winston is going to be starting instead of Russell Wilson. We love that for fantasy, but tough matchup against the Packers. What are your thoughts on this offense with Jameis Winston, Wan'Dale Robinson, even Tyrone Tracy? Could they all step up with these injuries?
Yeah, and we have the official inactives there, and Slayton is in fact inactive. Dart is in fact inactive, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants held them out until after their bye, which I believe is in week 14. So I love Wan'Dale Robinson. If you're in a standard league, number one, come on, guys, like get with it. It's PPR, nothing at this point. If you're in a standard league, he doesn't have as much value, but in PPR, obviously, he's going to be heavily targeted in this game. I think Jameis playing is also really good for Theo Johnson, who, if you look, 5 of his last 7 games, he's been in double digits. And if you're getting 10, 11, 12 points from your tight end, and he's a dude that you're picked up off the waiver wire, like you should be pretty happy about that. So those are the 2 players. I'm not going to go as far as Ray McLeod, but there are a couple of Giants there that I do like with Jameis under center. And to be quite honest with you, if it was Russell Wilson under center, I probably would stray a little bit more from those 2 players. I'd probably start Robinson, be a little worried about Theo Johnson. But yeah, I feel good about starting both of those players this week. And Green Bay has not been great against wide receivers. And so the matchup's not terrible. And Jameis always either increases the value of his receivers, and oftentimes that's the case, or he throws too many interceptions and ends up being a negative game script where he still has to throw the ball in the second half. And so it's funny because when we talk about Jameis Winston as being a good thing for Robinson and Theo Johnson, you know what, Michelle? It's probably also a good thing if you're starting the Packers defense because Jameis has been known to throw a pick 6 or 2 here or there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he could have 5 touchdowns in this game, but also 5 interceptions. Nothing would surprise us with Winston, but that's what makes him exciting. We will be getting to all of your start sit questions, so keep sending those in. We're just going to continue to go through these inactives, let you know who's playing, who's not, and which replacements players you can trust the most. Now,
Mhm.
so we have Winston starting for the Giants. We still have Jacoby Brissett starting for the Cardinals with Kyler Murray on IR. And then Davis Mills is starting this week for the Texans because CJ Stroud is still dealing with that concussion. Then he gets the Titans. So if you had to choose between those three backups, Winston, Brissett, or Davis Mills, who is your favorite play this week?
It's probably Brissett, even though, he's losing Marvin Harrison Jr. today. The Niners defense, we all know, has been banged up for a lot of the year, and they can be had. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a higher scoring game. Brock Purdy is back for the Niners, so I would probably go Brissett there. Although Davis Mills was the highest scoring quarterback in fantasy last week, which is just insane and bananas. And anybody who predicted that, I mean, you could take our jobs because there's no way that we were predicting that. So yeah, I'd probably go with Brissett. In fact, I'm starting Brissett in a couple of super flex leagues. A couple of other inactives that have come in. Brian Thomas Jr. is in fact out. So Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers will be the top two guys in that game for Trevor Lawrence. Calvin Ridley's back. I don't necessarily know if I like that. He's playing the Houston Texans, and that's just not a good matchup. And Ridley's not been really good. Drake London is active. Matthew Golden is also active for Green Bay, although, again, not a guy that I'm particularly excited about starting. Quentin Johnston is also going to start. And I would say this. Johnston has been inconsistent over the last month or so. And, we know Ronnie Gadsden's good to go. But Jacksonville's given up the second most points to perimeter receivers this year. So if you're in a pinch and you need a wide receiver, I don't hate Quentin Johnston in this game. And then Keon Coleman, healthy scratch. Apparently he was late for a meeting, not going to play. So if you have Khalil Shakir, start him. And remember, the Bills are also down Dalton Kincaid. So I would be shocked if Khalil Shakir didn't get 7, 8, 9, 10 targets in that game against Tampa.
Yeah, Shakir should be a really good play with both of those guys out. Kincaid's a big miss, and it's actually a big miss for Josh Allen, too. Kincaid definitely helps Josh Allen this year. Allen's numbers are better with Kincaid out there, but maybe Dawson Knox can become, a fill-in for a guy like Sam Laporta. We just got news yesterday that he's on IR with a back injury. That came out of nowhere. He's out at least the next 4 games. So that's a killer. I mean, people have been depending on Sam Laporta. He has been consistent over the last month and really been stepping up. So, maybe a Dawson Knox could fill in his role. Pat Freiermuth, I absolutely love this week against the Bengals. He could be out there, but yeah, that's a big bummer for Sam Laporta out. That should help, though, guys like Jameson Williams continue his good streak that he's been having lately.
Yeah, no doubt. He's kind of reemerged into a guy that you can trust. And back to tight end, the thing that makes it even worse is that, no one's going to rush to put Brock Wright into their lineups. Right? I mean, Brock Wright, maybe gets into the end zone, maybe doesn't. That would kind of be the only way that he'd had fantasy value for this week. And so, losing Laporta definitely hurts. Some other players at tight end that you could potentially pick up. I mentioned Theo Johnson. Michelle mentioned Freiermuth, who I love. I mean, Jonnu Smith also, he coght also be floating around out there. Dalton Schultz could be floating around out there as well. So there are some options, but that's a big loss. And it's not tight end's already not a big enough dumpster fire. Now we lose a guy that we would be starting every single week. So those are some of the replacements for people out there who lose Sam Laporta. And I would also suggest this. When teams are off, oftentimes players on those teams are not added off the waiver wire. If you lost Sam Laporta, pick up Juwan Johnson and stash him. Juwan Johnson has had 4 straight games with double digits. He had a big game before New Orleans' bye week, and he seems to have something going on with Tyler Shuck. So I know he can't help you this week, but don't ever overlook who's on a bye and who you can maybe pick up because everyone else is not thinking about them because out of sight, out of mind.
Absolutely. Now, another guy I wanted to talk about, Torrey Horton. He is out. Cooper Kupp will play. Rashid Shaheed last week in his first game with the Seahawks, didn't do much. Yeah. We probably expected too much from him right off the bat, right? Just because he's familiar with this offense.
Right.
We thought he could just jump right in. It's going to take time. He gets the Rams this week. Cooper Kupp or Rashid Shaheed, if you had to go with one, which one would you be leaning for?
I mean, boy, that one's probably I'd probably end up going with Cooper Kupp just because of the revenge game narrative. because I love me some good revenge game narrative, but that probably be about it. So the Bears inactives just came out. No one from a fantasy perspective who is notable, although Jalen Jones is out, the defensive back. They've been a little bit banged up in their defensive backfield. So that might be a good thing for Justin Jefferson, who we need. I mean, please, JJ, throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. It would be great. I will say this, though. If Jefferson has a big game today, or when he has a big game and it happens before the trade deadline, I'm trying to trade him immediately.
Yeah. This is a really good matchup for him. If JJ McCarthy and JJ cannot connect today, we have to be really, really, really worried. But yeah, if he has a good game, I'm with you. You should be looking to trade him. Again, continue to send in your start sit questions. I promise we'll be getting to those in just a few minutes. Going through the rest of these inactives. We got big news also yesterday or the day before that JK Dobbins will be out for the year. He's getting season-ending surgery on his foot. So RJ Harvey, their second round pick, the Broncos second round pick, is going to get a big opportunity moving forward. He gets a really tough matchup, though, the first game against the Chiefs. They've been really tough against fantasy running backs. So what are your thoughts on RJ Harvey this week and the rest of the season?
Yeah, I'm playing him. I mean, volume sometimes is more important and supersedes matchup, and I think that's going to be the case here. And what we're hoping, Michelle, is that this is kind of like Trevion Henderson 2.0, where didn't do much. Stevenson got hurt. The opportunity arose. And suddenly we've got a guy who we can start every single week. And, RJ Harvey is a second round pick. The Broncos obviously have enough faith in him to draft him pretty highly. And I feel terrible for JK Dobbins because it's every single season. It's like death taxes and JK Dobbins is going to get hurt. And it stinks because I love JK Dobbins. I love his game. But unfortunately, this just continues to happen to him. And not for nothing, but now you've got RJ Harvey in a position where he's going to get 15 touches a game. And I know the matchup's not good. The matchup's not great for anyone in this game, to be quite honest with you, right? I mean, Denver's defense at home, Kansas City's defense has played very well. So I don't particularly love anybody, in this matchup. Obviously, I'm starting guys like Rashid Rice and Mahomes, et cetera. I don't particularly love anybody in this game, but volume is real important. And I think he should get the volume. I would also be keeping tabs on who gets most of the secondary touches in that backfield, because with Harvey now really the only guy that they can potentially utilize as close to a featured back, sometimes it makes sense to check out and see who's getting the secondary snaps and touches in case another injury occurs down the line. Or if you're looking to handcuff RJ Harvey down the stretch, because, the NFL injuries happen all the time.
Now, on the other side of that game, Isaiah Pacheco has been ruled out for week 11 against the Broncos. Kareem Hunt still in play. You can play him, but would you rather go with Kareem Hunt, RJ Harvey, or, one of the Buccaneers running backs now, because Bucky Irving came back to practice this week, but he's still out.
It's like a tease, right?
Yeah.
Like they teased us with it. Yeah.
I know. He'll still be out. So Rashad White or Sean Tucker, who got more involved last week against the Bills. Who do you like most out of that group? It's probably Harvey, but what about Kareem Hunt, Rashad White, or Sean Tucker?
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather go with Rashad White. I've been a little bit disappointed with him because, let's not forget, he was very recently one of the better running backs in fantasy football. And after the Buccaneers drafted Bucky Irving out of Oregon, that call kind of all went sideways in the second half of last year. But he hasn't really performed well statistically this season. The matchup on paper is good against Buffalo. Their defense has not been great against running backs. So I'd probably go Rashid White ahead of Sean Tucker and Kareem Hunt. But I would not be surprised if Sean Tucker split the touches 50-50, or if he's got the hot hand, is even better than White. That's what makes that backfield a bit of, a sticky situation. But if I have Rashad White, I'm starting him because of the matchup and hoping that the volume is there.
Now, one last thing before we get to the start sit questions. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall are back officially. Yep. Can you play them against the Cardinals? Because I think you can, but I'm also a 49ers fan. You also have a 49ers helmet behind you here, so might be a little biased, both of us. But I really like Ricky Pearsall this week. He's back. You have to love this for George Kittle as well, for Brock Purdy to be back. But I also think Purdy is a startable guy somewhere in the teens as well.
Yeah, I have him as a back end QB1, high QB2. I will say this: the Cardinals defense is actually not a particularly great matchup for the Niners passing game. Let's just put it that way. But with the injuries, no Daniel Jones this week, obviously, I'm still going to play Brock Purdy. I have Ricky Pearsall in one of my dynasty leagues. I'm playing him. Part of that is out of need because of injuries. I think Juwan Jennings is still a playable asset. I would still play him. This is the first time really that we're going to see the Niners offense like whole, right? I mean, because like Jennings was injured to begin the year, and then Pearsall's been injured for so long. So now it's going to be interesting to see who's going to get the majority of the targets in that passing game between Pearsall and Jennings. Kittle's always going to get his, but yeah, you got to feel pretty good about the Niners. I even like Eddie Pinheiro in this game. So that there's, even though the matchup's not great, I still will be rolling out my Niners and obviously Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, yes. Christian McCaffrey, running back one, without Jonathan Taylor this week. I would expect that. Now, let's take a break, and then we will get into all the start sit questions. So send those in. We're just going to take a quick break and be right back. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. You get the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. And it's super easy to set up. You get to keep your number, and then you're running in minutes. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. There's an upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees are extra. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, let's get into these week 11 start sit questions to try to help these people out win their week. First one, we got Parker Washington or Kareem Hunt.
I like that logo there, a little Batman thing. I dig it. Parker Washington for me. Again, the matchup's not great for Kareem Hunt, and unless he gets into the end zone, I fear that he's not going to make much of a fantasy impact. I'm going to go Parker Washington.
It does think that Parker Washington, the 2 games that he gets to be the lead guy, it's against the Texans and the Chargers. They are both really good passing.
But he was good last week. I mean, we got
the return touchdown
last week. Yeah. So
yeah. I'll go Parker Washington, but it is a tough matchup, but Kareem Hunt also has a tough one. So I like Washington.
Yeah.
I need to start 2 out of 3, DeAndre Swift, Quinshon Judkins, or Chase Brown.
I'm definitely starting Chase Brown out of that trio. The second one is tougher because I love Judkins, and the matchup's actually good, but I worry about game script. Although I think Cleveland's going to play better at home, I'll probably go with Judkins here. But DeAndre Swift, I can understand if you want to put him into your lineup. The Bears have this like whole hot hand kind of thing going on, and if Monin guy ends up being the hot hand, does Swift get his normal workload? I have Judkins ranked like 2 spots ahead of Swift, so it's very close.
I have him 1 spot ahead of Swift. I have Judkins running back 16 with Swift 17. So I slightly go with Judkins there, and then I'm with you, Chase Brown. One guy we didn't talk about as inactive is Samaje Perine, and that is big for Chase Brown because he will not get those snaps and touches taken away from him. So definitely Chase Brown. We have another question here from Mel H. I have Caleb Williams at quarterback, but McCarthy and Purdy are available. Should I switch?
Well, I would say this. I would be picking up Purdy regardless. I still like Caleb more than Purdy based on the matchups. But I would definitely pick up Purdy unless you have another quarterback and maybe it's a smaller league where Caleb's like your 2, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I have Caleb 1 spot ahead of Purdy for this week. But I would pick up Purdy because then you could stream both of those quarterbacks. Again, Mel, I'm not sure if you have another quarterback in addition to Caleb. But Purdy, if he's out there, a lot of people should, go out and look to pick him up.
Yeah, I'm going Caleb here. He's my quarterback 9 on the week with McCarthy and Purdy a little bit lower than that. McCarthy, I do really like his matchup this week. He should have a good game. It's just too risky.
It's so risky, man. Yeah, it's so risky. I don't even have McCarthy in my top 15 just because I don't. Well, I have him at 15. I just don't trust him. So maybe he'll surprise me today.
Yeah, I have him right there with you. I have him at 15. So it's not like I have him super high. I just think he should be able to put it together, even if it's not the passing yards with the rushing. Now, Mel had another question, Purdy or Baker. I'm just sticking with Baker. I know, like, on paper, it's a tough matchup against the Bills. It should be a high-scoring game. The Bills normally get run all over. That's why they don't get a lot of, passing yards and touchdowns put on them. But the Buccaneers can't run either. So I still think Baker's going to have to pass a ton.
Yeah. See, I have Purdy ahead of Baker.
Okay.
Buffalo's defense has been really tough at home. Even Patrick Mahomes in early in the season did nothing. They held Drake May to fewer than 14 points at Orchard Park. I love Baker. I don't love the matchup today.
I still have him as my quarterback 4. So
wow,
I'm
that's bold, Cotton.
I'm still getting crazy here. Now, Chris Godwin, like you said, is still out. Your boy Tez Johnson had a great game last week. Is that someone you're staying away from this week because of the matchup?
I don't love him as much. I would play him where needed. And people are in need at wide receiver. So, I have Tez Johnson in lineups. It's not because I love him this week. It's because I kind of have to play him because of either injuries or bye weeks.
I think he's still, he's getting looked at in the end zone, right? A lot. Both Abuka and Tez are coming down with those touchdowns. So I think he's a playable guy. I think we're a little bit too worried about the Bills. Now we got another question here. Good morning, y'all. My season is done. I was offered a 2026 first, second, and 2027 first to give up Tyler Warren in my full point PPR Dynasty League. There's a bonus for tight ends too.
Wait. You were offered a 2026 first, a 2026 second, and a 2027 first for Tyler Warren? And okay, it's a tight end premium. That's great. Yeah, I'm taking that. That's a big haul for a tight end. That's a big haul for Tyler Warren. I would 100% do that. That's a lot of draft capital and I love Tyler Warren. Don't get me wrong. I love him. He's got to be a top 3, top 5 dynasty tight end, but that's a lot to give up. So whoever made that offer is either a diehard Colts fan or really, really likes Tyler Warren. I would take 2 firsts and a second for Tyler Warren all day long.
I'm guessing they're late if this person's going all in to try to get Tyler Warren to win their championship. So
right.
Probably a late pick. And so that changes it a little bit. But also, if you're already done at week 11, that means your team is probably pretty bad and you need to, rebuild. So I like the trade for both teams, honestly. So, I would do it in your situation. We got a question for week 11. Kyren Williams or Wan'Dale Robinson? Easily Kyren Williams for me.
Yeah, it's full point PPR. So, Kyren is, super solid. Blake Corum's been getting a little bit more burn, but he hasn't really turned it into fantasy production. Yeah, it's Kyren, but that does not take away from how good a play Wan'Dale Robinson should be today.
Well, we expected that last week too, and it didn't really come through.
But the targets were there. See, here's what I say. As fantasy analysts, we can only project and prognosticate opportunities and those opportunities turning into points. So, for example, I liked Quentin Johnson last week. He had 10 targets, 10, but he didn't really do much with them, right? Wan'Dale Robinson, targets are there. Unfortunately, he didn't have a huge game. And Wan'Dale typically doesn't have these big blow up games, but he's got a good floor. But if you get 14, 15, 16 points, no Darius Slayton, remember, Jameis is the quarterback. I think he's been pretty solid. And one other thing about Wan'Dale Robinson, the Giants wide receivers have the easiest strength of schedule rest of season. So if you can trade for Wan'Dale Robinson in a full point PPR league, I would do it because he's not going to cost a lot. And he's also going to be in a position to put up numbers every single week. Once Jameis was named the quarterback, I'm in. And then hopefully Dart comes back. And again, this is just me predicting after the bye week, they're in I believe they have a week 14 bye. So after that, Dart comes back for the fantasy playoffs and you have Wan'Dale catching passes from a guy who clearly has a rapport with him.
Yeah, I like Wan'Dale. Don't get me wrong, and I like his target share and what he can get.
Yeah, Kyron's just hard to sit. He's a good player.
Well, we got another Wan'Dale question right here then, and this one is the closer call: Wan'Dale Robinson or Ricky Pearsall, and this is full PPR. I think I'm just a biased fan here, going Pearsall.
Are you really? I'm going Wan'Dale Robinson here. Pearsall hasn't played in a while.
Yeah,
and the matchup's not great. I am starting him as a need. But I would rather play Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay. I think I think you're right. Like, I think you're right, the Wan'Dale Robinson. But who has a higher ceiling? I do think it's Pearsall, if you could just come
Yes.
down with
Yes.
a touchdown. We got another Parker Washington question. Parker Washington or Cortland Sutton in half PPR. I'm going with Parker Washington.
Isn't it amazing? Cortland Sutton was literally like one of the most reliable wide receivers in fantasy football in the first part of the season. And then in the last month, he's kind of going down the toilet. The matchup's really bad. The matchup favors Parker Washington. By the way, Roger, love the dog in the picture. Very cute. I am a huge dog lover. So if you haven't seen my Instagram or my ex, Kylo typically will grace his presence on there. But anyways, I actually have Sutton ranked higher. But I can see Parker Washington in this one having a better stat line simply because he's been the better wide receiver for the better part of the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Sutton has been taken over by Troy Franklin. It's a tough matchup, and Troy Franklin has been leading.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It is really crazy. We got McMillan or Jameson Williams. Hetero McMillan has been, I think, overall pretty disappointing, right? He's been okay. He's been okay fantasy asset, not scoring really touchdowns at all. And the Panthers offense is just all over the place. So I'm definitely leading not just leaning. I'm going Jameson Williams here, especially with Sam Laporta out.
Yeah, me too. I'm going with JMO. McMillan's got a bad matchup. The last time he played Atlanta, he did not perform well. He was held to fewer than 9 points. AJ Terrell is a good corner. So I'm gonna go with JMO in that game. Speaking of that game, though, very interesting to see what happens with that Eagles passing game, especially after AJ Brown. And I don't think I've ever heard a player say this, but AJ Brown came out and said, if you're a fantasy manager and you have me on your team, you probably got to get rid of me. It was something to that effect. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make me feel real good about starting you against Detroit, does it, AJ? Let's hope that the matchup actually bears fruit and AJ Brown and or Devontae Smith have good games.
Yeah, you could just feel it though. Like I hate that he said that, right? And I think he's just frustrated with the offense, but I fully expect him to have a big game. If he can't have a big game against the Lions, then maybe we need to just trust him. And
I mean, he has, but that's a problem though. He hasn't had big games when we've thought he would be having big games. So he's been very difficult to trust, and he's certainly on the list of the biggest busts in fantasy football.
He definitely is. Now, we got a quarterback question here. Aaron Rodgers or Jared Goff? Rodgers gets the Bengals. Goff gets the Eagles. Rodgers is at home and Goff is on the road. It's going to be a close call for me. I have Goff as my quarterback 12. Rodgers a couple spots lower than that. So I guess I'd go Goff.
I have Rodgers ahead of him this week. Okay. And I liked Goff last week, and the matchup was favorable, and he made the most of it. But when you look at this matchup, Philadelphia's defense, the only good stat line that they've given up to a quarterback this year was to Jaxson Dart at home. That was in Philly. And Dart had almost 8 points as a runner in that game.
Yeah.
And so I don't love Goff. Now, this game could go off the rails and just be a ridiculous high-scoring game, and it could be bananas, and all of a sudden the defensive matchups go out the window. And I know Rodgers has not been great lately, but the last time he played the Bengals, I mean, he lit them up like a Christmas tree. So I'm going Rodgers here in this one. Goff on the road, he can be hit or miss.
My one thing with Rodgers is that I expect Jaylen Warren to have a great game. So if Jaylen Warren is to steal the touchdown, right, that could hurt Rodgers.
But Warren had a great game against the Bengals the last time, and Rodgers still thrived. So I just think this is going to be a bananas high-scoring game. And I'm going to go with Rodgers here. I know it's probably tough to start Rodgers because of the lack of consistency this year. But again, I mean, it's Cincinnati. Their defense is just terrible. Now,
then tell me, because I actually have a start-sit question then for you. I have to choose between DK Metcalf or Quentin Johnston. Who would you go with?
Yeah, I'm going to go with DK. DK's been bad. 3 of the last 4 games, his numbers have not been good. But again, and actually earlier in the year in that game against Cincinnati, he didn't really have a good game. But I'm going to still start DK because at least I know the target should go in his direction. Remember in that game, I believe every Steelers tight end scored a touchdown, at least the big 3.
And Pat Freiermuth always destroys the Bengals. In full PPR league, he has scored over 16 fantasy points per game in his career against the
Bengals. He had 28, in that game earlier in the season. I'm starting Freiermuth where I have him, this week.
Yeah. One more quarterback question here. Darnold or Bo Nix? He says he loves the show. Thank you. I might be going Sam Darnold. They're pretty close in my rankings. Darnold's 18. Bo Nix is 20. Darnold gets the Rams and Knicks gets the Chiefs. I'm just expecting the Seahawks-Rams game to be a higher scoring game than this Denver Chiefs game.
I'm going Darnold too. I don't even have Bo Nix on my top 20 this week. I don't.
He's by quarterback 20 exactly.
Yeah, I've got him at 20. I got Geno Smith ahead of him this week. Maybe I'm just drunk. I don't know. Or the Cowboys are just that bad at defense. Trust me, they are. But no, I'm going to go with Darnold here.
I do think the Cowboys play much better defense today after the bye, after the loss of Marshawn Nealon. I think they play up for him.
Maybe
today.
Against the run, because Quinn Williams is now in the middle of that defense with Kenny Clark, but their pass defense is still garbage. And I always like when the Cowboys play on Monday night because I'm a Cowboys fan and I don't have to worry about all the other games. I could just sit back and watch them play like crap and hopefully get a few good shots of Jerry Jones, kind of smirking like his shorts are too tight because the Cowboys aren't playing very well. I'm not a big Jerry Jones fan, if you didn't know that already.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. All right, let's take a quick break again to hear from another of our sponsors, and then we'll get to the rest of all of your start-sit questions. So keep sending those in. We are more than halfway through the NFL season, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You have to love how FanDuel offers you numerous ways to play. You can build parlays, try player props, and even put in wagers for the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? There are so many bets that you can get on in today with all of the Sunday games. So visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, we got a lot more questions to get through, and we have a good tight end question here. Okay. Kyle Pitts or Theo Johnson?
Theo. I love me some Theo Johnson. Kyle Pitts is so hard to predict. Like he is ridiculous. Nostradamus would be banging his head against the wall trying to make a prediction on Kyle Pitts every single week. I'm going Theo, man. I got Kyle Pitts at 12. I got Theo at 10. Theo got into the top 10 once Sam Laporta was reported on injured reserve, and so he moved into the top 10. I'm going Theo, man. Like, some players like Michelle, I feel fly under the radar in fantasy. And I feel like Theo Johnson's one of them. Tight end's a dumpster fire. It's terrible. And he's been so ridiculously reliable and consistent. I mean, I know he's not putting up like these huge numbers, but still 10, 12, 15 points. Last week he had a big game, but people still have question marks about playing him. I'm going Theo, man.
I am as well. I have Theo Johnson as my tight end 9. It's a great matchup against the Packers. The one way you can really beat the Packers defense is with the tight end. I mean, I would love Theo even so much more if it was Jaxson Dart, right? We don't know the connection between Winston and Theo Johnson, but we do know Winston's going to throw it up and he will trust his guy. So I agree with you, Theo Johnson here over Kyle Pitts. Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford? I mean, Stafford has been on fire.
I know.
But Dak has a good matchup against the Raiders.
Listen, and you know what, Jay? I mean, you could go on X and swear at me later on if Stafford goes out and has a big game today, but Seattle's defense is good. They're very good, and Stafford has been phenomenal. I just wonder at what point does he, see a bit of a slide? I mean, what's that? At least 4 touchdowns and like 3 straight starts. I mean, he's been unbelievable. But Dak's got the Raiders, and so I got to go Dak here. I have Dak at 6. I got Stafford at 8. So if you feel like in your gut that Seahawks-Rams game is going to be high scoring and you feel like you could throw the defensive matchups out the window, then by all means, play Stafford. He has been a better fantasy quarterback than Dak over the last month. But the matchup to me says start Dak, and the Cowboys, of course, are coming off a bye as well.
Yeah, I have Dak at quarterback 5 this week with Stafford at 7. So we are pretty aligned there. We're just slightly higher in Dak, but we like both, right? It's like if you have Stafford, you don't have to go away from him just because it's a hard matchup. But when you have such a good other option, we are going to go there. Jay also said first time checking out the channel, subscribed, really like your guys' vibe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that.
Anyone listening who's enjoying us, please subscribe. We're here every Sunday morning. So if you subscribe, you'll get that alert when we go live. Another question, another Parker Washington question. This is going to be big today. Parker Washington or Michael Wilson? I'm going Michael Wilson here. He's my favorite sleeper of the week.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm going to stick with Parker Washington, but another bold statement there. Wilson, as the matchup's good. I mean, as you know, Michelle, the Niners defense has not been great. Very banged up. They give it up to wide receivers. I'm still going to go Washington here, but we can have a little fun with this one at the end of the day. We'll see who scores more points.
Yeah, I mean, I as a 49ers fan, I hope Michael Wilson doesn't have a huge game, but he did have 7 targets last week. It didn't turn into much because they had a hard matchup, but against the Seahawks, no, this is going to be very different against the 49ers defense, a much, much easier matchup. We got a question here that says start 2 and a flex.
Okay.
So Kyren Williams, Saquon Barkley,
a lot of good players.
Judkins, Aaron Jones, Kamani Vidal.
A lot of good players here. I mean, obviously Saquon, you got to play him. Although the matchup stinks, Detroit's defense is really good against running backs. So, but I mean, if I told you to sit Barkley and he went off, I'd feel terrible for the entire rest of next week. I would, I'm going to start Kyren. Kyren to me is a guy who just, you play him every week.
Mm-hmm.
And so really the question is Quinshawn, Aaron Jones, or Kamani Vidal. And I have, believe it or not, I have Vidal ranked at 17, Judkins at 20, and Aaron Jones at 21. So they're all very close. Based on the rankings, I'm going to go Vidal, but I can see they're honestly, Aaron Jones has the best matchup of the trio. Chicago's defense has not been good against running backs. But we know Vidal's going to get the workload. So I'm going to go Vidal, but it's very close.
Yeah, the thing with Judkins and Vidal is they don't have to split the backfield at all. And with Aaron Jones, it's a good matchup, but you don't know how much shorter Mason will get in. If they get around the goal line, do they give it to Mason? So Aaron Jones would be out for me in this group. I'm with you, Kyren Williams and Barkley. It is very close for me between Judkins and Vidal. You just never know what kind of game you're going to get from Vidal, right? Do they feed him like crazy? Is he productive? I do think Vidal I don't know. I guess Judkins is safer to get you 10 points. Vidal has a better upside to get you 20.
The thing that the Judkins matchup is great, but Baltimore's defense has been playing better. And again, if Baltimore's boat racing the Browns, Judkins, say that 5 times fast, Judkins is probably going to lack for touches in the second half in the fourth quarter. And that's the one concern I have with him. So I'm going to go Vidal. I think the Chargers are going to win that game against Jacksonville. They'll be ahead. Vidal will get the football in the second half. And the matchup is not great, but again, it's the volume and I don't want to have to guess. So I'm going to go with Vidal here.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think it's very much a coin flip. Now, again, another Stafford question and another Stafford question. I'm going to go with the other guy. There are very few guys that I would pick over Stafford this week, but Jalen Hurts is one of them. So Jalen Hurts or Stafford, who would you go with?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Jalen Hurts against Detroit. I know there's a bit of controversy going on in that Eagles locker room on the offensive side, with AJ Brown and all this kind of mess that's going on. And Hurts didn't have a good game last week, but still, I mean, he's been mostly very good this season. And even though Stafford's been better lately, I can just see that Lions-Eagles game going into a higher scoring affair than Seattle and Rams, where I could see that happening too. But Seattle is such a good defense, and the Rams defense plays well at home. So I'm going to go with Hurts here.
Yeah, these are the quarterbacks I would play over Stafford. It's Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Drake May, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. Those are the only guys I have over. Now, Lamar Jackson is right behind him. Now, if I had to choose between Lamar and Stafford, I'm still sticking with Lamar, but I do have Lamar as my quarterback 8 this week. Super flex with Burrow, Purdy, Hill, Neighbors, James Conner, all down. Well, Purdy's
Purdy's back. Purdy's back. Yeah.
So that does stink.
Good news is that the last report that I saw was that Burrow may be back for Thanksgiving, which would be phenomenal. That'd be a great way to sit on the couch, try and fight off all the effects of eating so much turkey all day long and watch that game. You're going to get Burrow back here sooner rather than later, which is great news. But yeah, I have one of my teams where I drafted Rashee Rice. So I had 6 weeks where I didn't have him. I had CD Lamb missed, 2 or 3 games. And Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin. Thought I was a contender at the beginning of the year. Not a contender. Injuries are tough.
They've been brutal this year. I had in a keeper league, a 3-team keeper league, I cut Burrow and Neighbors as 2 of my 3 keepers. So I'm in it with you. We got a question here. Kareem Hunt or Cortland Sutton in the flex?
Okay. If it's PPR, I'm going to stick with Cortland Sutton and cross my fingers.
I'm going to go with Hunt. More likely to score a touchdown. I think Hunt's the goal line guy. He's going to get the work. I just really don't like Sutton. And what you do need from Sutton is a touchdown, right? Or else you're going to be really sad because it's the
If I get 5 for 80 from Sutton, I'm dancing in the streets without the touchdown.
Yes. I think you'd be happy with that. And it probably would outscore Hunt there or be pretty similar. Pickens or Swift, half PPR for running back and standard for wide receiver. Interesting.
Really? That is interesting.
A premium for that running back situation. Swift did get, I think, 8 targets last week.
Yeah. So because it's the half PPR sort of bonus for Swift, I'll go with him. Pickens in PPR leagues, the last 3 games, since CeeDee Lamb's been back, it's not really been great. Now, I love the matchup. Don't get me wrong, against the Raiders. In full PPR, I'm going to play them. But if you're only getting yardage and touchdowns, I'm going to stray from Pickens. I'm going to go Swift in that case.
It's very, very close for me. But with the half PPR, I think
if both players were getting the same, if it was a full PPR for both or half, I'd go Pickens. In this case, I'm not. I'm going Swift.
This is a good one. Jordan Love against the Giants or Jacoby Brissett against the 49ers.
Heidi, what's up? I know Jordan Love has been so crappy to the point where he was getting a lot of attention in the the mainstream sports media about whether or not, he can get the Packers deep into the playoffs. I've got to play him against the Giants, though. It's the Giants. I have to play him. The Giants are terrible. I sound like Charles Barkley there. They're terrible. But I have to go Jordan Love here. I have to go and keep the faith that he can have a big game or at least a good game against Big Blue.
Yeah, I have Love at my quarterback 16 against the Giants. Brissett a couple spots behind there. If Brissett had Marvin Harrison Jr., I might go with Brissett, but without him, I'm going to go with Jordan Love and hope that Josh Jacobs doesn't steal all the touchdowns. But the Giants defense is bad, and they should be able to score a lot of points. This is a tough question. Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott, they're back-to-back for me. I have Prescott at 5, Herbert at 6, but, if I just woke up differently today, it could have been the opposite way.
I'm going Herbie. By the way, all this stuff on social media that he has a brother who plays for the Jaguars and they look identical. Is that right? Is that true?
I've never heard of this. So
how did we not know? How did we not know that? Like, they look exactly and they sound exactly alike. It's almost, anyways, I got to do a little more research on that. But yeah, I'm going Justin Herbert over Dak. And that's not me hating the, Jerry Jones Cowboys things. Herbert didn't have a great game last week. I think he bounces back this week against Jacksonville.
Yeah, I like both a lot. So I don't think you can go wrong. And I guess Herbert seems like a little less volatile. I don't know. They're both going to go up and down. I wouldn't know what to do here. Flip a coin. And I expect both to be good. So it's a really hard decision. And this is going to be a really hard one too. Rondé Gadsden or Jake Ferguson. He said he tried trading one, but no takers.
Keep trying.
I know. Keep trying. Gadsden has a fantastic matchup this week.
He does. I
have Ferguson as my tight end 4 and Gadsden as my tight end 5.
That's exactly where I have both of them. So yeah, we are in agreement there that it is Ferguson. But Gadsden, can you flex Gadsden? I don't know what you have as a flex. Maybe you can put him in that spot, but I've got Ferguson one spot higher. But yeah, Gadsden's a great play this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like flex one of them. Unless your flex spots are just amazing. If you only have one, then maybe it would be hard because you might have better people. But I like Ferguson or Gadsden over a lot of these wide receivers past wide receiver 20. Yeah, a lot of these running backs past running back.
Yeah, like Gadsden over like Cortland Sutton. There's a lot of players I like Gadsden more than at other positions.
Absolutely. Now, one last one here. Parker Washington or Michael Wilson. We did answer similar, or I think the same question up above from someone else. I said Michael Wilson. And I said Parker Washington.
Yeah. So. This is like every week we should have a little wager on the one the one question that we disagree on. So I'm going to go Washington. You're going Michael Wilson this week.
I am. That will be it for today's episode. I hope we helped you all set your lineups. I hope you all get your win. Fabs is on the Locked On Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast every day, Monday through Friday
with the great Marcus Mosher. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm on Locked On Fantasy Football every day, Monday through Friday with Vinny Iyer. So do not miss those. Come subscribe to this so you don't miss it on any given Sunday. Enjoy football today, y'all. Have a great day.